Hello. In this video, we're going to look at graphical user interfaces and event-driven programming, which is going to be new to most of you. Up until now, we've been looking at programs that kind of run sequentially, right? You start at sort of the top and you work your way down line by line. You might have some function calls in there that cause the program to jump to different places in the code, but generally speaking, the program starts at the top and ends at the bottom. And all of any input or output happens in the Python shell or in the console, and that's the basically the sum total of your ability to interact with the program is through typing and reading text in the console. Well, in graphical user interfaces, and like most programs that you use, be it like a web browser or word processor or something like that, there's a lot more interactivity, and you're doing things in a non-sequential way. You're interacting with the program, you're pushing buttons, you're typing text, you're moving the mouse, you're doing all these kinds of things, and those inputs are causing the program to behave differently, right? And so when we start to move into graphical user interfaces, we look at what's called event-driven programming, where things aren't linear, where we don't start at the top and move to the bottom, but rather we respond to user inputs as they happen, and those things might not happen in a prescribed order. And so in Python, or at least in this class, we're going to use a graphical user interface package called TK. And TK is a widely used, very well established package that has interfaces in many different languages, not just Python. But Python has a good one, and the interface to TK in Python is called tkinter. And you've actually used tkinter a little bit in your Turtle applications, because Turtle is built on top of tkinter. And so you've used it before without even really knowing it. But we're going to delve into that today and see how we can create a simple program, or a simple graphical user interface program, and then help you step from there into more complicated things. So let's begin. First thing we need to do if we're going to use the tkinter package is to import it. And so that's a familiar thing, but we're going to add to that a little bit. The tkinter package is just spelled tkinter. And you know from prior work, like when you imported the random package or math or Turtle, that every time you wanted to use a function or something in that package, you had to, let's say we were using something from the Turtle package, you'd have to type turtle dot and then the thing that you were going to use. Well, in this case, if we're using tkinter, we're going to have to type tkinter dot and then the functions that we want to use. But we can shorten that by adding a little bit to this import. And so this is a little bit new, but we're going to import tkinter as tk. And so what that says is just shorten the name of tkinter to tk so that I don't have to keep typing tkinter all the time. I can just type tk and it's a little bit faster. You'll see this, it's a pretty common kind of thing to do, so I wanted to introduce it to you now. All right, so we've imported the tkinter package, but we're going to refer to it as tk. And the first thing we want to do is just create a window. And that's a really simple thing to do in tkinter. I'm going to call my window main window. It's up to you what you want to call this variable. It's just a variable. But now I'm going to use the tkinter package dot, and then to create a main window, you use the tk function there, okay? And that creates a main window. Now, it's not going to be a very fancy main window at this point, but that's okay. Let's see what it looks like. In order to start a tkinter application, we use what's called the main loop function. So now that I have a tk window that I called main window, I can call its main loop function. And let me take a moment to just sort of explain this dot notation. We've been using it all throughout the year, but some of you might not really yet understand what it's referring to. So this dot, I like to think of it as sort of ownership, okay? This main window is a tk object, and tk objects have certain things available to them. One of those things that's available to them is the main loop method. Now, I named main window myself. I could have called that whatever I wanted to. I could call that window, okay? I could call that W. I could call that whatever I like. But what I can't name myself are the things that are already established for that type of object. So this main window is a tk object, and tk object have certain things available to them, like the main loop function. And the main loop function kicks off the application. And so I'm calling my main window's main loop function. And main window has a main loop function because it is a TK object. Okay, well, let's run this and see what happens. I'm gonna have to save it. And there you can see it. It made a little window for me. Now it's not very interesting. It's empty, it's small. It says TK here because I didn't specify anything else. But we can do some things to fancy this up and make it more what we want, okay? All right, so let's first fix that title. The title of that window is TK. I can change that title because every window, every TK object here, capital TK, has a title. So I can say main window dot title, and that's a function for my main window. And it tells me, okay, it's expecting a string. Let's say I'm gonna, my goal is to make a fun game. So I'm gonna title my window fun game. Beautiful. If I run this again, I get my window. Oh my gosh, but this time it says fun game. So I've titled my window. Okay, sounds good. But that again isn't very interesting. So we're going to add our first widget. So a widget is something that we can interact with on a graphical user interface application. And so the first widget we're going to look at is what's called a canvas. And a canvas lets you draw things, lines and ovals and rectangles and all that good stuff, like you're used to with Turtle. So let's create a canvas that we're going to put on our window here. Notice I'm going to put this before the main loop. So the main loop we do after we've set everything up. Okay, so how do I create a canvas? Well, I create a variable name. I might call it canvas, so lowercase c. And what is that canvas? Well, it's from the tkinter package, which I'm using as TK, and it's a canvas object. So this is not something I'm making up. This exists within the tkinter module. Okay, canvas. Now, as soon as I hit the parenthesis, it'll tell me what it's expecting, right? Master. It's expecting a master. Well, this means who owns this canvas? Well, my main window owns this canvas. My main window is the parent of this canvas. So every widget in TK or in tkinter is going to have a parent. And so in this case, it's my window. And I can specify some other things like the width and the height of the canvas. So I'm going to say width equals 300, height equals 300. So I'm going to make it a square. Okay. And so I've now created a canvas. And even though I've specified the parent and the width and the height, I haven't actually placed the canvas within the window. So we have to do one more command here in order to make that happen. And this is called laying out the widget. So we're going to lay it out within the window. It kind of tells it, where should it go? How big should it be? What, how should I be showing this widget in my window? And the easiest way to do that right now, we'll get into this in another video, is to use what's called the pack method. And pack will just place the canvas at the top. So we're going to pack that, and if we run this, I get that. You might notice the window's a little bit bigger because I've placed something that's 300 by 300. If I do a quick change here, make the canvas 600 by 300, you'll see that it makes my window even bigger. Right now it's twice as long as it was before. Okay? Last thing we're going to do in this video is draw something on the canvas. You can do all kinds of stuff on the canvas. And if you want to look, just look on the link in Canvas, that's funny, in our Canvas course to the tkinter tutorial, and there's all kinds of stuff you can do there. But for now, I'm just going to draw a line. So Canvas in TK has a method called createLine. And it expects coordinates. So I'm going to draw a line from 2020, x1, y1 to 80, 100. Okay, let's see what that looks like. And there you can see it drew a nice line from 2020 to 80, 100. One thing to note in computer programming that's different from Turtle and different from math, and totally new to you probably, is that the y-axis actually goes down as y gets bigger, which is confusing. So this is the point 2020 up at the top, and this is the point 80, 100 as you go down, which is really kind of weird, but that's the way computer graphics work. So x still increases as you move left to right, but y increases as you move top to bottom. So there you go. That's your first application in tkinter, and first GUI application. We'll look at other widgets and more interactivity in a future video. Thanks.